Hello folks, my name is Josh Taylor and I'd like to welcome you to the 12th Annual Telling Tales Festival and our first ever virtual gathering. Whether you are a veteran fan who has been to the festival or whether this is your very first time joining us, we are so happy to see how stories connect us, no matter how far apart we live. Speaking of where we live, the Telling Tales Festival happens in a place where people have lived and told stories for thousands of years. It is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Huron-Wendat, and the Neutral peoples. Today, it is home to the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Six Nations of the Grand River, and to many other Indigenous people from across Turtle Island. We recognize our responsibility to learn about their rich history so that we can better understand our roles as caretakers, neighbors, and friends. With a good heart and mind, we honor the sacred Indigenous tradition of storytelling by presenting our program today. Miigwech, Nyawe, and thank you. Hi everyone. This episode is called Telling Your Story. Today, we are going to hear about family stories, and about families who have had to leave home in search for a new one. These are the stories that connect us. Watch this whole episode to spot the dragonfly, who will fly by with 3 different word clues. Then, head to the Telling Tales contest page to submit the words for a chance to win a book from one of today's authors. Let's get started. Kathy is here to tell us a true life story about a brave princess and an even braver mother and daughter who were running for their lives. Kathy Kaser writes award-winning books about the Holocaust and helps people understand the importance of keeping memory alive. Her recent book, The Brave Princess and Me, tells the true story of Princess Alice of Greece and the brave people she helped.
Hi everybody, I'm Kathy Kaser and I'm so happy to be here. So I am going to be talking about one of my books. Here you can see just a few of the books that I've written. Most of the books that I've written focus on stories of the Second World War and the Holocaust. The Second World War began in 1939 when Germany invaded Poland. And at that time, Germany was led by Adolf Hitler. I'm sure you know his name, a man who was considered to be quite evil. He wanted to rid the world of all Jewish people. By the time the Second World War ended, millions and millions of Jewish people and millions of others had died or been killed. And the stories that I write are stories about young Jewish boys and girls who were struggling to survive during that time. And I'm so happy to be able to talk to you today about this book, The Brave Princess and Me. So this is a story about a princess who lived in Greece, the country of Greece, and I begin the book like this. Her full name was Victoria Alice Elizabeth Julia Marie, but she was simply called Princess Alice. And the reason that I wanted to write about Princess Alice was that in 1941, when the army of Adolf Hitler, the Nazi army, had invaded Greece, and they were beginning to round up and arrest Jewish people to deport them, to send them to these terrible prisons called concentration camps. At that time, Princess Alice actually hid a Jewish family in her residence in the city of Athens, Greece. She was a hero and an important rescuer. So here you can see a picture, beautiful picture of Princess Alice when she was just a young woman. She was born in England, and you have to know that as a very young child, her family discovered that she was completely deaf. But she was very smart and very resourceful, and she learned to lip read in 3 languages. As I said, she was born in England, but she moved to Athens, Greece, when she met and married this man, a man by the name of Prince Andrew. They settled in Athens, and they had their family. They had 5 children, 4 daughters, and a son whose name was Philip. And then, as I said, in 1941, the army of Adolf Hitler invaded Greece and began to arrest Jewish people. There were about 70,000 Jewish people living in Greece before the Second World War began. All of them were in danger of being arrested, and they were desperate either to escape from the country or to find safe places to hide. One of those families was a Jewish girl whose name was Tilda Cohen, along with her mother, Rachel. And one dark night, through a whole bunch of circumstances that you're going to have to read about in the book, Tilda and her mother, Rachel, appeared on the doorstep of Princess Alice and begged her to take them in and keep them safe. And Princess Alice did not hesitate to do so. She actually housed them on the third floor of her residence in a small room, and she would visit them regularly in this room, sitting and talking with them, having tea with Tilda, trying to pass the time with them, trying to keep them calm and not terrified of everything that was happening. You have to know that it was extremely dangerous for Princess Alice to take this family in. Not only was the family in danger, Rachel and her daughter Tilda would have been arrested and sent to one of those prisons if they had been discovered. But it was also dangerous for Princess Alice to hide a Jewish family, because at that time it was against the law for anyone to help anyone that was Jewish. So there were terrible dangers. And the other great danger was that the secret police of the Nazi army, a group known as the Gestapo, their headquarters were right across the street from Princess Alice's residence. And every now and then they would appear on her doorstep demanding to be let in so that they could search her home. They thought that they believed that there might be a Jewish family that might be hiding there. And during those times, Princess Alice would, remember she was deaf, she would pretend that she didn't understand a word that they were saying to her. Of course, she understood every word. And she would pretend that she couldn't speak. Of course, she could speak fluently. And in frustration, the Gestapo would turn around and leave her alone and didn't search the residence. Now, the Second World War ended in 1945, and again, you're going to have to read the book to find out what happened to everyone. But you need to know that of that 70,000 Jewish people who lived in Greece before the war began, only about 10,000 were left at the end of the war, and those 10,000 had survived by either escaping the country or finding a safe place to hide. And among those who were still alive were Tilda Cohen and her mother, Rachel. And here you can see a picture of them taken many years after the war ended. And this is a picture of Princess Alice, also taken many years after the war ended. So I hope you have a chance to read this very important story, this very important book about this very brave woman. I hope that we can all learn from her example of courage. And I hope that we can learn that we should all try to be champions for those in need and stand up for our friends and neighbors, just like Princess Alice did. So thanks, everyone. Hope to see you at some point. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Kathy. Now we have a great performance from the Hamilton Children's Choir.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too. The sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony. surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices 3. This is the sound of voices 3. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind, it'll turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of one voice, one people, one voice, a song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
Thank you, folks. That was fantastic. Up next is Ryan, an amazing performer from the Hamilton Youth Poets with a creative piece about his story. Exploring hip-hop poetics and youth empowerment, Hamilton Youth Poets, or HYPE, was created in 2012 to give the city's youth an opportunity to develop their creative skills and have their voices heard.
I am my mother's eyes, spares of protection laced in God's image. I am conch shell and rainforest living in Hamilton, leaf photosynthesizing hail, slipping on the longing to be home and falling into a puddle of black ice. By that I mean reflective surfaces that crack easily like shattered perceptions have molded me into a progressive hammer from the tropics. I am many other things that make little sense. By that I mean nutmegs emerging from beneath snow, talkative bus seats, and silent soca fettes. By that I mean omnipresent friendships. By that I mean gamely negotiations with insanity. Defiant oil and paint intertwined with skin weeks after carnival done. Sewing my Grenadian heritage together like fathers in the Caribbean operate on patches in their sons' bags with fishing thread. Sometimes I am the damaged bag with custom scars and color-coded patches. Dirty Tims, y'all mistake it for swag. Other times, I tough like the fishing thread. Depends on if the sun is out. This is a trick condition. I am my own son, with a sober bottle of rivers on the side, which is to say I am drunk on the knowledge of what knowledge is. Nothing like paper empty of ink, like paper full of whiteness, like blackness. If this is all you know, I am an unaware prayer for children who look like me, that this too means nothing.
Thanks, Ryan. That was awesome. Storytelling and post-it notes? That was so cool and artistic. Next is Alyssa. She's going to tell us a story that took place more recently about a family who also had to flee from their home in My Name is Conasola. Alyssa Siegel explores the world around us and shows us what is happening. She shares these stories in award-winning radio documentaries and in books like this one.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alyssa Siegel. Come in a little closer. I'm going to tell you a story. It's a story about kindness and human connections and of how sometimes darkness becomes light. Now, close your eyes if you feel like it. The memory box is made of a dark wood. It's rectangular, about the size of a shoebox. Inside, some gold hoop earrings, a few bracelets, a thick necklace, a worn pink leather wallet, a slim red diary, a photo of a woman and a young girl. These are her most precious possessions. The story begins on an ordinary day. Conasola is playing with her friends in the schoolyard, not far from her home in Lagos, Nigeria. She's 9 years old, taller than most of her friends, faster than all of them. Suddenly, out of the corner of her eye, she spots her mother. "Come quickly, Conasola. We have to go." "Go? Where?" Conasola wants to know. She doesn't want to leave her school, her friends. "Far away, to another country." "But no more questions now," her mother presses. "There's no time. Home isn't safe for us anymore." Imagine for a moment that you're about to set off on a very long journey to the other side of the world, to a place you've never heard of, surrounded by people you've never met. You don't know when or if you'll be back. Imagine what that might feel like. If you had time to pack a small knapsack, what do you think you might put inside? Just a few small things will fit. Conasola and her mother get on a flight to Canada. 3 days after they land in Toronto, on an icy cold February day, disaster strikes. Conasola's mother becomes very sick and is rushed to hospital. From that moment on, Conasola is forced to find her way in a world full of strangers. Until the day one of her mother's nurses at the hospital finds out about Conasola and agrees to take her in. Together, they visit Conasola's mother often. The nurse registers Conasola for school. She makes a new friend. A few days turn into a few weeks, and then a few months. All the while, Conasola's mother remains in the hospital. But in order to be able to stay in Canada, she and Conasola have to apply for refugee status. Refugees are people who've been forced to flee their homes, their countries, and often their families. Maybe you came to Canada from another country, maybe even as a refugee, or your parents, or your grandparents. In order to be allowed to stay, Conasola and her mother have to prove that if they're sent back home, their lives will be in danger. This book follows Conasola's journey in Canada. Will she and her mother be allowed to stay, or will they be sent back home? Will Conasola's mother get better? And if not, what will become of Conasola? Where will she live? With whom? Conasola is smart and creative, courageous and resourceful. But what does it mean to be young and alone? What is it like to live with strangers? To have to create a new home and a new family? And who are the people who step in to help along the way? In this story, there are several. Each does what they can, with no expectation of receiving anything in return. My Name is Conasola is based on a true story. I first told it as a radio documentary. I interviewed Conasola and many of the people who circled around her and her mother. Some nurses, a doctor, a lawyer, a judge. Each one shared a different part of the story, their part. Maybe one day soon, you'll tell your own personal story, or someone else's. In the meantime, remember, be generous, be kind. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you'll read the book, and I hope we get to meet in person one day soon.
Thank you. That was a really powerful story, Alyssa. That's what I love about storytelling. Up next is Krista McNaughton, a terrific actor and comedian, teaching us how to tell a story by building a character through improv.
Hi everyone, my name is Krista, and today we're going to talk about creating a character through improv. Improv can be a little scary at times. You might think you always have to be funny or say something funny. Instead of worrying about what you are going to say, try to think of a character before you enter the scene. It can help you because then you're reacting as the character. Now, your character can be anyone. It can have any job you want, a cook, a pilot, the mayor of a town. And it can be any age and have any name. For example, hello, I'm Wanda Wizardly and I am 3,000 years old. Now, what does your character love? How do they walk and talk? Remember, improv is all about imagination, so you can be anything and anyone you want. Now, a fun game to play at home is called Animal Actors. Yes, that's right. You can even base your characters on animals. Don't worry, you can still talk The idea is to be a person who acts kind of like an animal. So to begin, think of your favorite animal. A cat, a dog, a horse, anything. Start by moving like the animal. Are they slow and steady, like maybe a rhinoceros? Or are they quick and nimble like a squirrel? Once you start moving like the animal, try talking like the animal. Do they have a low and slow voice? Or is it high-pitched? What is a describing word for your animal? Something you can act out. Now we know a lot of animals are smelly, so let's pick something else that your scene partner will understand. So maybe you're a duck that's really shy and every little thing scares you. That's a great thing to act out and can help you make your choices in the scene. Or maybe you're an elephant who's really clumsy. Whoops! Now, what do you think would be a silly job for a clumsy elephant to have? Maybe a cake decorator or a ballerina? You can have so much fun with this game. How many characters can you think of? Walk around your house, do your favorite activities like them to practice. Now there's no wrong answer in improv, just a few rules to help you through. So keep practicing your characters and most importantly, have fun. Bye!
Thanks, Krista. You've shown us that there are many ways we can tell our stories. Has everyone been paying attention to the dragonfly clues? Be sure to submit your answers to win one of today's books. Next up, we've got another really cool video from Hamilton Youth Poets.
It's cold outside, though it's not supposed to be. Winter's barely ever this bad. I thought the sun would be something we'd see by now, but the rain is still frozen. What an abominable love it was. My summer days obstructed by blizzards of snowman. August disguises December, what unruly weather. My melanated skin was not made for this wind chill. This chill you brought to me, such discomfort, such frostbite. What a cold joke. Yet I'm not cold anymore. As I lay in bed, I hear the tumble of the icicles from last night's storm trickle down the outside walls. The same walls I handcrafted myself from the very bricks once thrown at what was my glass house of emotions. But those walls didn't fall for you, although I almost did. Memories of you no longer send chills down my spine. It's so cold outside, but I'm not anymore. Though I'm not warm for you, I'm warm for me. This blanket is not for you, it was made for me. But it's still cold outside, a lot like how you left me. I once sought refuge in you, though you only refrigerated me for later, leaving me in the ozone, but you were once my hero. I thought you were my frozone, but you were more sub-zero. With the heat of two suns and the miles of fire in my soul, it didn't take too long for me to warm up to the absence of you. It's cold outside, but this is Canada, so that's nothing new. I'm from here, but that wind chill is something I'll never get used to. After all you said and never did and done but never said, you'd still expect me to chill and wait for you. But I feel warm now. If it's the cold you fear, get a hat, wear a scarf, and keep an extra layer on, 'cause it's cold outside. And I will not be leaving the door open for you again, 'cause it's nice and warm in here. I heard it's cold outside, though I wouldn't know I'm not out there. And I'm not going out to feel it for myself. That weather is not my business. I'm too warm to care. It's time for you to call us a loss. Your attempts at reconciliation are getting old. Indifference is a dish best served cold. It's time for you to accept defeat. All the messages and declarations of love between us have now pressed delete. On the inside, protected by my body's warmth, I feel the passion freeze. Now surrounded by my eternal heat.
Thank you. That was amazing. Now, we've seen lots of different ways we can tell our own stories. And we've seen that we don't have to look far for inspiration. Those great stories might be right in our own families. One idea of how to tell your family's story, or your neighbor's story, or a friend's story, is to conduct an interview. You could record that interview on video, or you could write it down. help you out, I've got some tips on how to do an interview like a pro. Pack your tools. Make sure you have all of your recording equipment ready. Do you rock it old school with a pencil and paper, or will you just press record on your phone? Make sure your battery is charged and bring a backup just in case. Create your plan. Learn about the person you are planning to interview ahead of time. Ask permission to speak with them. Ask for an appointment to meet in a safe distance. Phone is often best. You could also ask to send a list of questions by email. If you know the person really well, maybe you could do it through face-to-face technology like FaceTime or Zoom. Prepare a list of questions on your phone or on paper and memorize a bunch of them so that the conversation flows naturally. Designing good questions. Ask open-ended questions. This means asking a question that cannot be answered with just a yes or a no. For example, instead of asking the dragonfly, "Did you have a difficult childhood living in an undisclosed storage unit while you waited every year for the annual festival?" you could ask, "What was your childhood like? What did you most enjoy about your life as the celebrity mascot at the Telling Tales Festival?" Ask specific questions. These kinds of questions just establish the facts. Who designed you? What is your name? When did you first start working as the Telling Tales mascot? Ask clarifying questions. These little questions can help your interviewee open up. For example, can you tell me a bit more about your experience in storage as you waited for the festival this year? Your behavior during the interview. The trick to keeping the person you are interviewing at ease is to be polite. 2. Pay attention. Really listen. Take very careful notes. 5. Thank the person you have interviewed. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Your life story is fascinating, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it. Send in your videos or stories to the Telling Tales Creativity Club, and we'll post as many as we can for everyone to see. Don't forget, fill out your Stories Connect Us trivia quiz to win one of today's books. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us, and remember to visit our website for more events and to upload your artwork, your writing, your videos, and your ideas to the Telling Tales Creativity Club. Telling Tales is all about the joy of discovering how stories connect us. Tell us what you thought of this episode by filling out the survey on the Telling Tales website, and you could win a book from one of today's authors. See you again.